Hi, Roy here on Roy Reads Anything, my Booktube channel, and this is my 1 year Booktube anniversary because it's a year since I started doing all of this. So I put out a plea for questions. Thought I'd do a Q&A. So some questions came in on my community tab and I will answer them. If there's time, I'll do a Booktube anniversary tag and have some channel news as well. So, busting straight into the questions. The Grape Jelly Library, Flossie, great channel, says, congrats, at this stage of your channel, what would today's you tell your past self if this was day one of your Booktube journey? I think that would be to relax and enjoy.
Words to live by.
Yeah, there's other questions a bit like that, so I'll flesh that out a bit. But yeah, nice one, Flossie. MJ says, seriously, my gosh, congrats, buddy. And some other blush-making praise. 2 questions. What is the most valuable lesson you have learned since being on Booktube? I would say patience, and also that the results are unpredictable, and that is part of the fun. And number 2, what is the most surprising book you've read because of Booktube's influence? I mean, there are scores, really. I think before Booktube I would read the occasional book, but a lot of time I just default to like doom scrolling through the news, so reading at all is probably a beneficial side effect of Booktube. But surprising book. Now, I never would have read Mills and Boon romances. Within the world of Mills and Boon romances, Vampire Lover by Charlotte Lamb has to be the most surprising book. It's I now Mills and Boon has a supernatural like subset, but at the time supernatural things didn't really happen in Mills and Boons. So Vampire Lover, there's like sort of, can it really be sort of supernatural stuff? Then it pivots into a wild BDSM story, and then, to fulfill the mission of all Mills and Boons, wraps it all up with a nice happy ending for all involved. So Charlotte Lamb's Vampire Lover, I would recommend to anybody, widely available in second-hand online stores. Okay, Medium John Silver asks,
That's a great name.
which book spine or set of book spines makes the best appearance on your shelves? I'm probably going to say my beloved Ballantine Fantasy Collection. There's a array of fantastic fonts and artwork wrapping around. They've got wraparound covers, and just the fact that the whole sequence of them makes this brilliant kind of slice through fantasy fiction. So yeah, the Ballantine Adult Fantasy series is my answer to that. Now then, Mr. Interocitor, what question are you hoping we'll ask that none of us do? And Heather Reed's jumped onto that and reinforced that idea of what question are you hoping we'll ask that none of us do? Well, not that one, because that puts work on me now to dream something up. What is your favourite song from a Broadway musical, is what I'm going to say for that. Next question is, which book or video has been Dr. Jenny's favourite so far? I defer to Dr. Jenny.
Well, now, they're all so great. How can I pick one? And I have such poor memory. How can I possibly remember?
What videos?
Videos. What is it you're doing over there with all those lights?
I think it's fair to say you haven't enjoyed any of the same books.
No.
Particularly Buckskin 39.
Yes, let us draw a veil over Buckskin 39. I shall enjoy Elder Race when I start to read it. But favourite video, I'm going to go for the very first one you made, because just because I think it's so brilliant that has burgeoned into this film studio in our living room where Roy eats cake and I don't. No, yeah, great. That first video, who could have known? Who could have known that it would all
Good answer.
bossed out like this? Great.
Okay. Then we've got Nettie
Nettie.
asking blah blah blah, nice things, nice things, nice thing. What is the most challenging book you have ever read? How long did it take you and was it worth it? I think I'm gonna say Finnegan. Sorry, it's not a joke. Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce is famously difficult. It's very non-linear and the language is used very playfully and that kind of thing. In the end, the way I did it was listen to an audio book, which was 24 hours long. So I guess that's, in a sense, that's how long it took me to read it. But also, way back in like art college times, I read a sort of, Anthony Burgess did a version of it. Well, not a version, but it's like a guided tour of selected bits of Finnegan's Wake with Anthony Burgess sort of talking you along, talking you along, you know, telling you rough stuff about what's happening and what you're reading. So I had read that version, which is kind of a cut down training wheels version, in about, well, like 40 years ago. So it took me this long to at least hear the whole thing. And I'd have to say, I finished my final run at it. I stayed up all night and listened to the like 8 hours of Finnegan's Wake being read. It's a brilliant reading, by the way, on Audible. I think Naxos did it, and sort of the final sequence. I think you'd need a heart of stone not to think that was great. And hearing that as the sun rose after a weird night of Finnegan's Wake, James Joyce audio was a amazing experience. So there's my answer to that one. S Griffin 9960 says, please give the backstory on the white model car on your shelf. Okay, the white model car is this, and if I hold it this way, kind of answers the question. You can see it, well, this is one of those, everybody knows that is the sign of the saint, and everybody knows that the saint is a series of thriller books, is a character of Leslie Charteris, who wrote thrillers, and it was also a TV series and some attempts at a movie. Anyway, yes, so this was the saint's car from the TV series. Specifically, it's a model of his Volvo, and this is also a recreation of a very old toy. So Corgi made lots of media tie-in vehicles like the James Bond car, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Batmobile, and they did the Saints car as well. And this was a present from Carl Hunter, who gave it to me when I retired from work. Also on this day, so it's another anniversary, 4 years ago. Yeah. Well, it will be when the video goes out.
Yeah.
Time slip. Yep. Big Hard Books 77. Alan from Big Hard Books. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you travel? Cromarty in the Black Isle in Scotland, I think.
Good choice.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, good. Get the car, warm the car up. We have actually got one of those Volvos. That's our car as well. Quite expensive to get the Saint graphic done on the bonnet. Right then, moving on to the Booktube anniversary tag, and I cannot trace this to its origins. But anyway, first question: how many years of Booktube are you celebrating? 1. Question 2: how have you changed? Unfortunately, I wrote this out by hand, so
never a good idea.
Hang on a sec. And that's a different set of questions. How have you changed since from the first video to now? Okay, well, I think a big thing, I suppose. When I first started, I would go upstairs to a different room, do stuff, and come down and edit it. And for some reason, I did a video down here, and you could hear Jenny laughing in the background at something I said, and people like that, and that's blossomed into the current sort of domestic micro theatre where they're still my videos, but Jenny is involved, and that's how it works. I think that's been a big change, and that's been great. And then, of course, we brought in Poetry Thursdays, which that's pretty much Jenny's thing as well. So it's become a sort of a two-hander. How have you changed? But yeah, being more relaxed. I gave up on numbers and views. I just decided I'll just do what I want and find interesting as well. So come back to that. What has kept me motivated to keep doing videos? I think it's passion for the material, really. You know, I really, because sometimes it's like, oh God, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? But then I'll sort of think, there's just something I want to say, look at this, it's just fantastic, and here's why, or it's weird, or it's interesting, and just look. So it's that. And the fact that that is heard, that there is a community out there, and there's responses and sort of friendships that work around that. 4. What are 3 of your favourite videos from you made in the last year, and why? Okay, well, that's all the videos I've ever made. I really liked the video I made about the Mills and Boon Euromances, which is not massive of views, but you know, I felt I did a really thorough job on talking about this particular group of category romance novels, and it's there if anyone's like researching them, or oh, what are these, you know, people will be able to find it into the future. So I really like that, and it was funny to do. There was another one pretty recently. I did you know, sometimes it just all comes together. Did a video which was just about going to a nearby stately home, has secondhand books, and getting a book haul from there. And it just kind of, you know, it was a lovely thing to do as a trip, and it just, the words just rolled out of me, and it got a great response. And also I am very fond of Ginger Rogers. I found a book. There's a series of books where film stars behave as detectives, but they're not themselves. They're not like film stars in Hollywood. They're like characters in a novel. It's very strange. This one was written by Ginger Rogers' mother. So I really enjoyed everything about that, tracking the book down, reading it, talking about it, and a few people responding to that as well. What's your most popular video? It's question number 5. Well, technically it's a short where it got a money box with a plastic dog on the top, and you put the money in and the dog goes wild like it's eating food, and that just got tens of thousands of views. Obviously not really representative of the channel. The best proper video in terms of views was when I looked at British Library Tales of the Weird, because I had lots and lots of them, and I did a thing about looking at the series of them that just took off. You know, the algorithm must have pushed that. And there's probably a few people on here sort of, well, we'll watch one more video, but if he doesn't start talking about Tales of the Weird again, we will kill him. Question 6, what have you struggled with on Booktube, and how did you overcome it? Not a great deal. There was a tag that kind of sent me a bit loopy. It was a perfectly reasonable tag. It was a tag about the Western canon. I think it's like the Western canon, as in the sort of mega classics, the sort of Shakespeare and Don Quixote type of level of books. and the idea was to come up with your own list of 25, and I just couldn't do it, and I felt simultaneously like an ignoramus for not having read enough of those sorts of works, and a sort of bloated oppressor of humanity for having read too many of them, and kind of ashamed that if I found like alternative lists of more diverse versions of the canon, I hadn't read any of them. So I was just like, oh God, what am I going to do? I could, shall I make my own one up with bring in objects and then I thought, well, this is a hobby. You're doing it for enjoyment. So, and maybe you don't have to do everything. So that was the thing: is you don't have to do everything. You don't have to do every tag or participate in every event or do every Booktube convention. I don't think, So yes, so I overcame that moment of difficulty. It probably wasn't really about any of that at all, but I overcame that by realizing you don't have to do everything. 7, have you had to deal with negative feedback or comments? How did you handle it? Surprisingly little of that. When I've had them, really they're responding, the negative people are responding more to my thumbnail and title than they are to the actual video. So if I'd used a sort of slightly clickbaity approach to titling a video, like is Enid Blyton as terrible as everybody says, ? And then in the video I say, well, I've read a few, and based on the ones I've actually read, she's actually pretty good. The comment is about the title, how sort of, how dare you think that Enid Blyton is terrible, blah blah blah. So they're ranting against the title without responding to the video itself. So the way I responded to that particular one, I think I gave it the heart and pinned it to the top of the comments for that particular video. But I haven't had like outright abuse yet. Choose one moment from the last year on Booktube that you would like to relive. Well, that would be an odd thing. I'm not sure I want to relive things. It's a philosophical anomaly, that, because if you relive them with what you know now, then it's something else, isn't it? Anyway, a moment I thought was really great was, and this isn't to do with my channel, I'm not sure how you meant to answer this. Is it meant to be like, yeah, on my channel this great thing happened, or is it meant to be like world peace broke out and that was good? But a thing that happened elsewhere on YouTube was a long-time subscriber and commenter, Rick, suddenly started making videos of his own as Double O Pipe, and since then he's made a video like every day, and they're fantastic. They're not really Booktube videos, although they might be. It's Rick smoking a pipe and telling stories, and sometimes you see his dog, or you hear about what his dog's up to. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So the fact that just appeared out of nowhere was a great moment. What's the best book you've read in the last year? Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters, which I've never made a video about. I actually did it was a set piece in a course, but I've thought about this, all the vintage stuff I've read, and yeah, Tipping the Velvet. I've read some other books about Victorian theatre world as well that were written at the time. They were awesome too, but Tipping the Velvet, yes. Where do you see your channel in a year's time? Yeah, who can say? There's a couple of things I'd like to have tried by next year. I've never done anything live, so that would be good to have tried that, and possibly have something like a Discord for extra discussions to go on, but we'll see. Finally, question 11, what piece of advice would you give to someone starting on Booktube? Well, apart from things I've said about relaxing and being patient and accepting there's a unpredictability to what's going to work and what isn't. People often say it's like you should decide what you want to do and what kind of channel you want to have. I would agree with that, with the proviso that one type of channel you might want to have is one that does lots of different things and doesn't necessarily stay the same and is experimenting all the time. That is a legitimate choice too. But, you know, you might want the solid ground of deciding I'm all about a particular genre or whatever, this is how I'm going to do it, and I really like researching things and making a considered piece. Or, on the other hand, you might like talking on the cuff about all sorts of crazy nonsense, which is what I do, I think. So, but, you know, yes, having an idea of the direction and a willingness to sort of change as things develop, I think that would be my advice. So channel news, I'll just slip in. So this all started with the idea of the Yard of Random Books. So this was where I bought a set of shabby chic decoration. These were old books being sold merely as for you know, here's a bunch of hardbacks you can put on the wall of your cafe to look like some books. And I thought I will actually read them. I think a year is long enough. There are some left, and I'm beginning to dread the pile of like not wanting to read those ones. I think a year is enough. I'll probably have to chalk that up as a sort of fail, but I will make a wrap-up video of the Art of Random Books, look at the ones I haven't read and why that might be, and decide on the final face of those, and on some sort of successor project based on the aspects of that I enjoyed the most. Yes, so happy birthday to me. There is still some, don't worry, Jenny will get some cake. And we'll be back soon with something else. Oh no, hang on. New innovation for this year, the Random Sentence from a Sword and Sorcery book. God.
Did you just break the spine?
I did just break the spine.
Oh.
That's not the random sentence, although spines do get broken in Sword and Sorcery. This sounds like words to live by. The longest climb must end at last, and we looked out through tiny openings into the highest, most private place of all, the Chapel of the Mother. Okay, back soon with something else. Bye.